Hello there, guys, and welcome to episode 5 of the Dudes Being Guys Sports Podcast.
Just guys being dudes.
My name is Marco Yerkovich, and joining me today, as always, is Easton Nelson.
What's up, guys?
And Colton Deneen will be joining us shortly. So, Easton, what are we doing today?
Well, today we'll be discussing Khalil Mack and Sam Darnold's impressive debuts, Gruden's letdown with Oakland, Russell Westbrook's knee surgery, and much more.
All right, Easton, it's a busy day, so let's get right into it with Aaron Rodgers leading the Packers to an epic comeback against the Bears on Sunday Night Football.
So is Aaron Rodgers the most clutch quarterback of all time?
Well, I think outside of Tom Brady, I think he is. That was so impressive to see him go off on a cart. I'm sure plenty of Green Bay fans and NFL fans thought that the season was over for him and the Packers when that happened.
Yeah, when I saw him go out, I thought the worst right away because of what happened last year with his collarbone. Well, I guess we knew it was his leg, right?
Yeah. It was his left knee,
Yeah, but
it looked
that's one of the most amazing performances I've seen in a while. I mean, he came back, and it looked like he could barely throw the ball or move, really.
Yeah, he looked like an injured deer out there. Like, his throwing motion was completely changed.
Yeah.
Like, after he threw, he had to, hobble, 3 or 4 times to regain his balance.
Yeah, but on the list of most clutch quarterbacks, I'd probably have him, Tom Brady, and Brett Favre, I'd say.
I think Joe Montana's up there somewhere, too.
Him, yeah.
Yeah. But that's such, an abstract concept of, clutch, what
there's
makes
a lot of
quarterback
clutch players,
Yeah,
really.
Of course, yeah. So, that's really, it's up to your own interpretation. But I think he is a clutch quarterback for sure, as he's shown so many times. So, but the problem this leads to is Aaron Rodgers injury prone?
Not yet. It's only been, 2 years? Well, last year, he got his collarbone.
Right.
How long was he at, 9 weeks?
Yeah, 9 weeks. And
then
then there was a
year,
couple years ago,
yeah,
he
broke his collarbone again for the first time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how long was he out then?
Oh, he was out quite a bit of the season, but they still made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, so I don't think yet because he hasn't been hurt that much. It's only been, I don't know.
It's been about a season
and a half.
A cumulative season, maybe season and a half.
Season
total
and a half,
of injuries. And just the way he's played without the injuries, I guess probably makes up for it.
I think people are just saying that he's injury prone because it's been recent that he's gotten hurt.
Right, it's
twice.
in your mind. It was the clavicle injury for 9 to 12 weeks last year. And then this right away, I think it scared people, and I think people are just rushing to judgment on his health.
Yeah,
so,
I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right.
I don't think he'll play this weekend though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He's not playing, or he's not participating in practice.
Yeah, he won't be ready, which is ultimately probably the best thing because then he gets a whole nother week of rest.
Yeah.
So just one of the reasons actually Green Bay struggled is Khalil Mack had a monster game, a sack, a strip fumble, and a recovery, an interception, return for a touchdown.
That's crazy.
And 4 tackles.
Yeah.
Could you ask for a better defensive debut?
No, I think the Bears, as of right now, the Bears have won the trade because we haven't seen what the draft picks are going to be yet, which we won't be able to. Are they all next year's?
There's a couple next year and then a couple in 2020.
So we don't really know yet, but as of right now, they definitely won because they got the best defensive player in football right now.
Right, and he's in his prime, and he's 5 years in, right? So even if you do hit on a couple of those draft picks, you're not going to have a Khalil Mack right away.
No.
Even combining all the players' talents, it'll take years for those players to develop. And I understand Gruden didn't want to pay a ton of money. His philosophy is more pay a bunch of guys some money instead of one guy a lot.
And himself.
Yeah, he's looking like a hypocrite after taking 10 years, $100 million.
We'll talk about that later in today's too.
Yeah, but it's a little absurd that Khalil Mack is probably the best defensive player in football. Obviously, former defensive player of the year. So why would you not pay him the most you could pay him?
It doesn't make any sense to me.
I
don't get it.
He's elevated the Bears defense to a level I didn't think they could be this year at all. They're clearly a top 10 defense now. We have to see how far he can take this defense because they're going to be such a talented team now with him. So now moving on to a Monday Night Football game, the first of the doubleheader in which the New York Jets blew out the Detroit Lions 48-17. So is Sam Darnold the real deal?
I don't know yet. It's one game.
It's too soon. It's too
soon. His first play in his first game in the NFL was a pick six, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so
that's
it looks bad, but I mean, he had a really good game after that. I mean, he looked like he could become a top tier quarterback. And I wanna like Sam Darnold. I hope he does well, but it's too soon. So.
Oh yeah, it's way too soon to rush to judgment. But I will bring up a stat. Do you know who else threw an interception on their first career NFL pass?
Jameis Winston and Brett Favre.
Yeah. Well, at least good company on one of those.
One of them. I mean, Jameis Winston isn't the worst he could be, but it's not what you want to be.
Definitely not. I'd rather be Brett Favre. So basically,
you don't want to be a person that stole a crab leg.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of good weapons around him. Robbie Anderson and Quincy Enunwa. But that running game, they rushed for, I think, 170-something
Isaiah
yards.
Crowell was the reason why I lost in fantasy this weekend.
That's unfortunate for you, but it's good for the Jets.
Yes.
Did you see when the Jets fans, they went down, because the Detroit Lions stadium was so empty, all the Jets fans, flooded down behind the Jets bench and started doing the Jets chant.
Really?
I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I didn't watch the whole game.
Yeah. And I was watching the sideline reaction. What was really cool is I think it was almost really perfect for him to throw an interception on the first play of his career, because you got to see the calm and the prowess he has.
Yeah, he didn't look nervous at all after
Yeah, he's straight-faced the whole time. I mean, sure, when he scores the touchdown, he's excited, but he's not, too far or one way or too far the other way emotionally. He's really middle of the road, but you saw him. He was high-fiving, talking to guys the whole time, really invested in the team. Right, and you looked at the Detroit sideline, and it was straight faces, no talking. Matt Stafford sitting alone and being angry. Matt Patricia not talking to his offense after they come off the field. So, I don't know. So that leads us actually to this next question. Do you think Matt Patricia was the right guy for the job in Detroit?
Again, I think it's too early to decide that, because it's his first game as a head coach for the Lions. But it's not a good first game. I mean,
no, you really couldn't have a worse. Yeah, prime time, losing by 30+
to the Jets, who aren't supposed to be good.
Jets, yeah.
And for the Jets, back to the Sam Darnold thing. Another reason why it's too soon is it's the Lions. So that's another point. But for Matt Patricia, not a good start.
But it's also not you don't have a great history of Belichick assistants. In the NFL. Even the greatest college coach of all time, Nick Saban, he was 15-17 with the Dolphins. Then you have Romeo Crennel, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, who's still the offensive coordinator in New England, and many other examples of just New England coordinators and assistants just not doing well as NFL head coaches.
You'd think that since he worked with Belichick, that he'd know some things from him and be able to take it to his new team, but it never works out like that. I don't get it.
Well, proximity to genius doesn't necessarily mean absorbing that genius. So, we'll just have to see. He has quite a few pieces in Detroit, but we'll just see if he can get it to fit together. So, moving to the other Monday Night Football game, Gruden lost in his return to the Raiders. They lost to the Rams, 33-13. Your thoughts on is Gruden the right hire and at the right price?
Now, this is one where I think it is time to say what I think about it. I don't think he is. I mean, you're paying him $100 million. Like, what has he done to deserve that? Like, can somebody tell me what he did?
I mean, he was funny on Monday Night Football for like a decade, I guess. He had a so
he
TV
got paid
show.
For his character.
Yeah, really. Well, you know what? I don't think he was a bad hire, but it was the price at which he was hired.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind he would just be like all the other, because there were 6 new NFL coaches this weekend. They all lost, as they did 3 other times in history, right? But anyway, that's 1974, 1986, and 2001. That happened where all the new coaches all lost. And John Gruden is just like them, skill level, and coaching-wise, but
he's not the best, but he's not the worst.
He's being paid so much more.
Yeah.
It's just unwarranted. What can he do that is worth $100 million in coaching ability?
And he doesn't have the best team now with Khalil Mack gone. Their offense is still pretty decent, but their defense just seems like they've lost an identity, and it's just not as good anymore.
Yeah, and I think he could, here's the thing, though. He might become rusty in coaching or he has become, because in that first half, he came out with a clear game plan, right? Mm-hmm. He established, the threat down the middle with Jared Cook, who finished with 9 catches for 180 yards.
Marshawn Lynch had a pretty good game, too.
Yeah, pretty great game. But he failed to make any adjustments in the second half. They
Yep.
got run out of their own building in the second half.
Yeah, it would
So
have been embarrassing.
Yeah, and I think he's going to just have to get reacclimated to the coaching culture of the NFL of constantly making adjustments, constantly talking to your guys instead of being that personality that he's been for so long. So, I mean, this leads us to the next thing. Are the Raiders good enough to make the playoffs?
No.
Yeah, I don't think
I-
so
I-
either. I think they're the third best team in their division.
Yeah. So you have the Broncos below them or
Broncos below them,
Broncos
yeah.
below them?
I don't know
Yeah.
between Chiefs and Chargers.
Chiefs surprised me.
Yeah, Chiefs did very well.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something, like I said earlier, with Khalil Mack gone, their defense just seems like they're nothing now. And their defense won't get them to the playoffs. As their offense maybe, but their defense no.
Yeah, and well, I mean, there is one guy to look at who they drafted, who is, I think, maybe a possible reason for Gruden being too comfortable with this trade. They have a defensive end out of LSU from the second round, Arden Key,
Yep.
who's an absolute monster, number 99 for the Raiders. But he's no Khalil Mack, especially not in pass coverage.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, Yeah,
I don't think you'll ever find another Khalil Mack
you really
that
won't.
does exactly the same
I
stuff
think
as
that's
him.
the problem. You always end up paying quarters back for dollars and superstars.
Yep.
It has a trade for a superstar ever really worked?
Mhm.
I mean,
No. I
don't think
like
so.
most people say, whoever gets the superstar wins the trade.
Right.
So
That's pretty true most of the time. So, except for the Herschel Walker trade with the
What did they
Cowboys
get?
and Jimmy Johnson in the 90s,
they
they got 21 players and picks for Herschel Walker.
Yeah, I remember.
And then they won 3 Super Bowls off that. So, that's
an insane amount.
but that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So, when you're trading, always get the superstar. Give up whatever you need. Look at the Celtics Kyrie trade.
So now we're going into basketball.
You know what? No. We gotta stay on schedule. So let's go ahead and move into our NFL Week 2 picks. So we have first game up is the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons Sunday at 12 on Fox. Your pick?
I have the Falcons. I still want to believe that they can come back to what they were in the Super Bowl, but they keep doing worse every time I watch them. I swear, and it's so annoying. I can see the Panthers winning this because they just lost Keanu Neal and Deion Jones, which are 2 big pieces on their defense. So it's going to be a close game, but I hope the Falcons can come out with it.
And I have just the same issue you have. I really want to pick the Falcons just because of how awesome their offense is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good. But, man, the way you saw the Panthers stifle that Cowboys offense, I'm making an audible. I wrote down Falcons. I'm changing it. I'm going with the Panthers.
I just don't like how Cam Newton in the offense. It
really
no. It
he
doesn't
runs
work.
a college offense in professional football, and it's egregious to watch. Like quarterback runs are a part of football, but to the level that he does it, it's almost.
I mean, I see why they do it because he's 6'5", 200.
Right.
80? Not
And
200.
Christian
how much?
McCaffrey, by the way, if you don't have him in your fantasy league, pick him up on a waiver. Like
Christian McCaffrey should be the quarterback. Cam Newton should be the running back.
Christian McCaffrey is a special talent.
Yeah.
The way he catches footballs out of the backfield and changes directions, linebackers are going to be dealing with that for a long time. So you have Falcons, I have Panthers. Just on a whim, I changed my
It can
my
be. It can
prediction.
go either way, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty 50-50 game. So moving on to another divisional matchup, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Green Bay Packers on Sunday at 12 on Fox. Your pick?
I have the Vikings on the sole fact that Aaron Rodgers is most likely not going to play. I mean, with DeShone Kizer as their quarterback, he's not going to do anything on that Vikings defense. So
Yeah, even with Aaron Rodgers, I'll say this right now. Even with Aaron Rodgers, I would pick the Vikings.
I don't think. I do. I would too.
Yeah, and without Aaron Rodgers, this game's not going to be close. Whatever the line is, however much the Vikings are favored by, take the number. They're so much better. This defense is amazing.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the top 2 defenses in the NFL right now.
For sure. And also this Green Bay offense is, I mean, as you said, they're going to be completely inept. Look at what they were against the Bears defense and Khalil Mack.
Who do they have for a playmaker? I mean, Aaron Rodgers
Randall
is the
Cobb,
only reason.
Randall
Cobb, Devontae Adams.
Do they have
but
a
anybody
running
else?
back?
Their running back is an old wide receiver, Ty Montgomery. He was a wide
Oh,
receiver
that's
a
right.
couple
They
years ago, I
moved
think it
him.
was.
Yeah,
He
you're
did
right.
a pretty good job the first
Yeah,
year,
but
and then
I mean, the Vikings defense is going to eat that
Yeah.
alive. So we both have the Vikings pretty heavily. So
Mhm.
moving on to another high-powered offensive matchup, we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Pittsburgh Steelers Sunday at 12 on CBS.
I have the Chiefs. And the reason why I chose the Chiefs is because I was hyping up the Steelers all year, and I was underestimating the Chiefs. But the Big Ben struggled mightily against the Browns. I mean, I thought the Steelers. I knew that the Browns are going to be a better team this year, but I didn't think they were going to be able to keep it close with the Steelers last week. So if Big Ben plays like he did last week, the Chiefs are definitely going to beat him.
Yeah, the Chiefs, their defense is pretty average, but with the way their offense scores, all they need is to hold teams to about 20 points. This Chiefs offense is going to be so electric. If Kareem Hunt keeps his running game up and you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins was invisible
Yeah.
Sunday against San Diego, and they still torched them. Tyreek Hill had a punt return touchdown and 2 receiving touchdowns. He was absolutely electric as usual. And then looking at the Pittsburgh side of things, they had 6 turnovers
Yeah.
against Cleveland.
I mean, Big Ben had 4 interceptions.
I think so.
Yeah, Big Ben had that problem at the beginning of last year though, and it turned out to be a fine. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, that one really
I mean,
bad.
he almost retired
Right.
last year because of it.
Or even 2 years ago. Yeah.
Mhm.
He had 5 interceptions against Jacksonville last year. That was
That was ugly.
that was Jacksonville's coming out party
Yeah.
for the NFL. So yeah, with that, I'm definitely going to take the Chiefs. Their offense, while just as high powered as Pittsburgh's, they take care of the ball more. And I think Mahomes is such a deep ball threat. And I know Big Ben is known for his big gun, his big arm, but Mahomes is such an accurate passer. He's such a gunslinger. That Chiefs
I like
offense is
Mahomes.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then you have Andy Reid running that offense. He's an absolute wizard, and he has the second best tight end in the league, the fastest player in the league, a solid, probably Pro Bowl level running back in the AFC. You're shaking your head. You don't think Tyreek Hill is the fastest player in the NFL?
Nope, I do not.
Who?
John Ross.
That's actually a pretty good
I
point.
don't know.
It's close though.
We'd have to see them run a race against each other to
Yeah,
figure
but
that out.
it's also not just about the speed. The way Tyreek Hill is able to dodge guys.
Tyreek Hill's better.
Yeah, he's much better.
Definitely better.
But yeah, if you're talking about pure speed, you probably have a competition
Yeah.
there. So anyway, we both have the Chiefs. I think just based on the fact that their defense is more steady and Pittsburgh's offense can't control themselves.
Yep.
So moving on to our next matchup, we have the New England Patriots at the Jacksonville Jaguars, Sunday at 3:25 on CBS.
I think we'll disagree on this one. I have the Jaguars. The
Explain.
reason being is their defense is so elite, and I think they're the one team that can lock down every position of the Patriots. I know the Patriots don't have the best wide receivers, but they have Gronk and they have Miles Jack and what's his name? Their other linebacker, Telvin Smith.
Telvin Smith.
Telvin
yes.
Smith. They're good coverage linebackers that can defend him, and so Tom Brady I think could struggle against them. But last year in the playoffs, he seemed to do all right without him, or with going against him. So we'll just have to see.
That's a valid point, but I would ask you, that's a valid point. Jacksonville has a quite elite defense, but as Brady has shown in the past, that doesn't always matter. He'll probably put up 3 to 4 touchdowns. They'll probably score like 24, 27 points. But I think we need to look at the other side of the field, the other matchup, that just completely inept Jacksonville offense
They don't
against.
have Fournette. I forgot about that
Well,
too.
Fournette, but
Is he gonna be back or?
yes,
He
yeah,
is?
I think so. But then they lost Allen Hurns to the Cowboys, and then also Jacksonville's offense is really going to struggle because the Patriots have Dante Hightower back, Devin McCourty's in full
Danny
swing.
Shelton.
Yeah, and they reformed that defensive line. They got Adrian Claiborne, Danny Shelton, as you said. So I think this Patriots defense is going to be better than a lot of people think. So I've got the Patriots in that one. So moving on to our last pick, we have the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys, Sunday at 7:20 on NBC. That's Sunday Night Football. Your pick?
The Cowboys, and just like the Falcons, I want them to become the team that they were 2 seasons ago. I want to see Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott be the offense that they were 2 seasons ago, where they just freaking drove on everybody, just went down the field and just killed everybody. And the Giants' defense and offense really isn't anything special, but I don't know. We'll have to see that.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Cowboys as well. And I think their defensive front is spectacular. And that Giants offensive line, even with Nate Soldier, they're still figuring out. Every single player is either new to the team or new to the position they're starting at. Saquon Barkley, as he showed at Penn State, he's really like a one big play a game guy. He had that the other day with
He
that
struggled
68-yard
until that
touchdown.
61-yard touchdown or whatever.
68-yard touchdown.
68.
Yeah, and he's explosive for that one play, but outside of that, he's not a huge impact to the game. So, and honestly, I don't know how good these Giants skill players will be. You have Evan Ingram, a solid young tight end, Saquon Barkley, the second overall pick, and Odell Beckham, one of the best wide receivers in the league. But none of it matters if you don't get a quarterback who can get those players the ball. And so I'm going to pick the Cowboys until Eli Manning retires. Because Dak Prescott, even though he's not super skilled, but he's got a solid offensive line. Ezekiel Elliott is a great running back. And that Dallas front seven is going to stop any rush that Saquon Barkley has. So we both have the Cowboys in that one?
I think we agree.
All right. So, I'd just like to take this time to please ask you guys to remember to like this video, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. And we're also going to bring in Colton Deneen.
What's up, everybody?
So now we're going to move into our... You all right there, Colton? Doing all right?
Sorry, I have to cough.
Oh, that's okay. All right, so we're going to move into our college football section of the show. So first up, we're going to do our Heisman watch. We're all going to say our 3 players that we think are at the top of the list for the Heisman, and we're just going to see who we have in common and who who we think can win it.
The top of my list, I got Will Grier, quarterback at West Virginia. He was really good last year. Left in the middle of the season with a broken finger, but he's back now. He's going to be great. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, so at the top of my list, I have Tua Tagovailoa, Alabama quarterback. I think this might be the first time in the Nick Saban era in which the Alabama offense is more talented than the Alabama defense. And it's all because of Tua Tagovailoa. The vertical passing threat they have is amazing, and I think he's the number one contender for the Heisman.
I agree with Colton. I have Will Grier. I mean, he was 21 for 26 against Youngstown State, which isn't anything special, but they're one of the best teams in the FBS 2 conference. With is Bo still coaching there?
Yeah, Bo Pelini,
Yeah, I
head
think
coach.
he is.
They killed them. They won 52-17, but it's also Youngstown State. But I think that Will Grier is probably the most common player to win Heisman on most people's lists. And I think he has a shot.
Jonathan Taylor's up there with him, too. He's got a good shot this year.
He's on my list somewhere, too.
So who's your number 2, Colton?
My number 2 is Ed Oliver out of Houston, the big defensive tackle. He's a beast on the line for them, gets tons of sacks every year.
All right, so at number 2, I have Will Grier, the West Virginia quarterback. Just based upon the defenses he's going to be facing in the Big 12, he's going to put up so many numbers, and he's got one of the best wide receiver cores in the country, but also probably the best wide receiver in the country, and David Sills the 5th. Watch out, he's a contender for the Blitnikoff Award in college football, and I have Will Grier up at the top of my list.
At number 2, I have Kyler Murray, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. Murray, when I was watching him, he looks unstoppable every snap. The way he can pass and run the ball is super rare. He threw for 306 yards and 3 touchdowns while running for 69 yards and scoring 2 touchdowns. So that's an elite offensive quarterback.
Yeah, number 3 for me, I got Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. He ran all over the field last year as a freshman. He'll do it again this year. Expect a big season from him.
All right, so at number 3, I have yet another quarterback. I have Kyler Murray. People are saying that the Heisman is becoming a quarterback award, and honestly, unless you're an Alabama running back, it's going to be hard to win this award because it's so focused on being the head of your team and winning, very, very well, being a national contender, and I think they can do that with him at the helm of that offense.
I definitely agree. Number 3, I have Jonathan Taylor, the running back out of Wisconsin. On Saturday, he rushed for a career high of 253 yards and scored 3 touchdowns while doing that. He's the main focal point of the Wisconsin offense, and I think he can keep it up and definitely be in the running for the Heisman Award at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think if there's one non-quarterback player that I think is a very solid threat to be a Heisman candidate, if not a Heisman winner, I think it's Jonathan Taylor. The numbers he's putting up is absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to put the Houston defensive end, which what was his name?
Ed Oliver.
Ed Oliver. I wanted to put him in there, but I don't think we're gonna see a defensive player for a long time win the Heisman.
Probably not ever.
I thought Sue might have been able to do it.
You know what? I don't know. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to our biggest group of 5 threats. So who do you guys think will represent the group of 5 in the New Year's Six Bowl?
I have UCF. The way that they played these past 2 weeks shows that they can still do it without Scott Frost as their head coach. Mackenzie Milton looks like one of the elite quarterbacks in all of college football, and I think their team's good enough to make this New Year's Six Bowl as they did last year, right?
Yeah, they beat
Auburn
in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
So I would have UCF, but honestly, only one group of 5 team is going to get
Boise
taken.
State, possibly.
Yeah, and honestly, Boise State is higher ranked than them now. If they beat Oklahoma State, they'll have a solid win against what will probably end up being a top 15 team in Oklahoma State. They'll have a win against BYU, a solid San Diego State team, and they'll play a really, really underrated Hawaii team in the Mountain West Championship. And overall, it just boils down to Boise State's going to be higher ranked because they're going to have played better teams.
I got UCF as well as Easton. Mackenzie Milton, he's going to be a good sleeper pick for Heisman this year. He's going to just go absolutely off like he did last year. Yeah, they don't have Scott Frost, but that won't matter too much since they have that veteran quarterback with them still.
All right, so could a group of 5 team make the playoffs theoretically in your guys' eyes?
I said no, or at least if the team is, I think the team would have to be good for a long time because, to be honest, I don't think the committee really cares that much about the non-Power 5 teams. I mean,
right, but I think Boise State, like BYU, is a solid team, and they count as Power 5. The independents, which are Army, it's Army, Notre Dame, BYU, and I think Massachusetts. Those count as Power 5. So that's a Power 5 win against BYU if they get it. If they beat Oklahoma State, that's a really solid win.
Mm-hmm.
Then they will have wins against San Diego State and others, solid Mountain West competition.
Yeah, I don't know though because they have such an easier schedule, and I think the committee will look into that as well as the NCAA wants to get as much money as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And when there's a team like, let's say, UCF or, I don't know, I mean, this will never
East
happen,
Carolina.
but Louisiana Lafayette, go there. I mean, who's going to want to
Lafayette.
watch that? Like,
Well, but I suppose if they're the better team. But what's going to have to happen is I think no matter what the scenario, whether they're a conference champion or not, a one-loss Power 5 team that's even not a conference champion will get in over an undefeated conference champion of a group of 5. Say it's a USF, a UCF, a Boise State. I think you'd need to see like a 2-loss non-conference champion.
Mhm.
Then you will open the debate, and then
I
still,
still don't think it'll happen.
I think the Power 5 team would still get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, look what happened last year with UCF. They were undefeated. They proved they could keep up with the Power 5 teams and still didn't get in.
Yeah, that was what I was saying. I think they have to be good for a while now. They have to be.
Which is what Boise can become if they get back to their former glory.
Boise's always been a really good team. They've never been super good, except they played Oklahoma that 1 year. They
In
were pretty.
2009.
I mean, they've been kind
They
of
won the
underrated
Fiesta
the
Bowl.
last few years.
Well,
just
they
'cause
haven't done
been
too well.
as good.
They've
Yeah,
had
the past
some-
few years they haven't been the greatest.
They've averaged about nine and a half wins for the past 3 seasons.
At least they have a cool field.
Yeah, they have a really cool field. So
I'd love to play
just
there.
one last point before we move on to our picks for the week, just about the national title claim that UCF has. There's only so basically with the 2 national champions, you have Alabama and UCF. Which team beat
if We're
Auburn?
putting that,
Which team
That's
beat
the-
Auburn?
UCF.
UCF did. Alabama couldn't beat Auburn. So that's all I have to say. So let's move on to our picks. Just, let that simmer. Let that set in.
Nostradamus.
No, we don't have a
No,
Nostradamus.
I'm just saying that could be a Nostradamus for the future.
could be.
All right, so let's move on to our picks. First up, we have number 5, Oklahoma at Iowa State on Saturday at 11 o'clock on ABC.
I have Oklahoma. As I said before, Kyler Murray is a monster. He's probably my favorite player to watch in all of college football right now. He's crazy good. Iowa State, they're always decent, so I think they'll put up a little bit of a fight early in the game, but I think Oklahoma will pull off with the win, and it'll be a pretty decent victory.
So Iowa State beat Oklahoma last year, and that was their only loss of the season. So that was pretty impressive. But this Iowa State team, their offense is absolutely awful. They scored 3 points against Iowa.
And Oklahoma's defense has gotten a lot
yeah,
better.
Oklahoma's defense was very stout in their 2 games. So just, yeah, with the combination of those 2 facts, I pick Oklahoma easily.
I got Oklahoma. Kyler Murray will take them to the promised land. His decision to not go to the MLB, being that high of a draft pick, looks like it's going to pay off big. And Iowa State, they do tend to get really big wins every year, but I don't think they'll beat Oklahoma this year.
Okay, so moving on to the second game. We have number 12 LSU at number 7 Auburn, Saturday at 2:30 on CBS.
I have LSU. And the only reason I put LSU is because they pulled through last time for me. So I'm saying them. But this could definitely backfire at me. I mean, Auburn is an elite team. They have a great offense, a great defense, and they could definitely just roll through this LSU team. But I'm going LSU.
Yeah, I think that's a solid pick, and you're right. And especially Auburn's offense, with how young their offensive line is, they really struggled to get things going against Washington's front 7, which is going to be the same issue they'll face against LSU. But if you look at that LSU-Miami game, the game was a lot closer than the score indicated. LSU was able to take advantage of turnovers and penalties and other miscues. So I have Auburn by maybe a touchdown, maybe 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
I got Auburn with this. I was really torn about who I wanted to pick just because of LSU's performance last week. But Auburn, they're the better team, honestly. They're going to win this. Both sides of the ball, they're amazing.
Come on, LSU.
All right.
Do it again for me.
I
It's
don't
only
know.
because Miami's quarterback did terrible.
Yeah.
What if Auburn's?
Roser was really
then they'll
not good
win.
for the Hurricanes. All right, so next game up, we have one we've been discussing a little bit. Number 17, Boise State at number 24, Oklahoma State, Saturday at 2:30 on ESPN.
I have Oklahoma State, and I feel like you're definitely not agreeing with me here. But I think they'll win in a very narrow victory. The running back Justice Hill for Oklahoma State, who was supposed to be one of the better running backs this year, but has been pretty silent all year. I think he's going to have a coming out game, and he'll run over this Boise State defense, and they'll come out with the win.
Yeah, whoever wins this game is going to have a huge win on their resume. And I don't know, Boise State put up 800-plus yards against Connecticut. I know it's Connecticut, but that's still 800 yards of
True.
offense. That's a lot of yards. So, but anyway, I think it's it'll be a signature win for the Broncos, and it will put them in that national discussion.
So you have Boise State.
Yeah, I have Boise State. It's going to catapult them into the top 15. And now with that and a win here, a couple weeks against BYU, they're going to have to start being put in that top 10 and that playoff discussion.
I have Oklahoma State with this. I think it'll be a nail-biter last-second field goal win for them. Boise State, they are a very solid team, but Oklahoma State has the home field advantage here, plus that running back who, as Easton said, could easily have his coming-out game. Yeah, Justice Hill. It'll definitely be a very close game, very fun to watch.
Okay, so next game we have is number 4, Ohio State at number 15, TCU, Saturday at 7 o'clock on ABC.
I have Ohio State just on the fact that Ohio State is better on both sides of the ball. TCU is going to put up a fight and score a lot of points. Well, I take that back. They won't score a lot of points, but it's going to be a close game, and I think Ohio State will win in the trenches.
I know it was week 1, but Ohio State did allow 31 points to Oregon State,
That's true.
which is not
Oregon
a good
State
sign.
isn't very good.
That's exactly my point, but I think Ohio State is still going to power through, even though it's being played at a neutral site, but the neutral site is Cowboys Stadium,
So it's
which
That's
is
in
not really.
Texas.
It's TCU's
yeah,
advantage still.
TCU is it's 10 miles away, so that's definitely a home field advantage for TCU. But I have Dwayne Haskins and Ohio State. That two-headed monster in the backfield, J.K. Dobbins and Meyer in the backfield for Ohio State is just deadly.
Yes.
I got Ohio State with this one. They're just going to overpower TCU, let's be honest. TCU, they have a really electric offense. And with Ohio State's defense, even though they did allow a ton of points to Oregon State, it was also their first game not having Urban Meyer, and it was kind of like a warm-up for them. But this could very well be a blowout. Ohio State, they got him.
Okay, so our next game is number 22 USC at Texas, which is at 7 o'clock Saturday on Fox.
I have USC, and as much as I wanted to say Texas, I didn't do it. Tom Herman continues to let me down and doesn't redevelop this team. I think USC is gonna honestly just slaughter them. I mean, they can even beat Maryland.
Yeah, but
And-
USC had 3 points against Stanford. I know
Stanford.
Stanford's a very
Stanford,
solid
and then
team.
there's Maryland. Stanford's in the Pac-12.
I know. But
Maryland's in the
we'll
Big
see.
Ten.
We'll see.
Yeah, but
Texas
Maryland
has so many
is, like, the
tremendous
second worst team.
athletes. Texas is full
Texas
of
has a lot of
athletes.
raw talent.
A lot of
They-
raw talent just needs to
They're
be developed
undeveloped. They
and put in the
need
right
coaching.
places. But I totally agree with you. Clay Helton, USC, JT Daniels, they're going to run over Texas. It's going to be a 2-3 possession game when it's all said and done.
I got USC with this one. Tom Herman, since he got hired, giant letdown. Huge letdown. But JT Daniels, he can lead this offense. Texas won't know what to deal with. It'll definitely be a blowout with this one.
All right, so next up we have number 10 Washington at Utah, Saturday at 9 o'clock on ESPN.
I have Washington. I hope they can find their offense, as it seems like they haven't been able to find that the past 2 weeks. But Jake Browning is definitely one of the best quarterbacks, and I think they should be able to pull off with the win.
Yeah, they really struggled offensively against Auburn, and you saw in those crucial third and fourth downs against Auburn, he couldn't get anything going. And I know this is kind of picky, but only scoring 45 points against North Dakota, which is a Division I AA team, it's not a good sign. And but I do think, even though it's at Utah, and Kyle Whittingham has some of the most physical teams, some of the best disciplined teams that are top 5 defense in the country right now statistically. But I think Jake Browning, he'll find his footing. And even though I'm putting this game on upset alert, but I still have Washington.
Oh, I don't really know who to choose for this one. I want to say Utah, but I think Washington will get this one if their offense finally breaks out. Utah plays really well at home. They, just like Iowa State, they seem to get a big upset, but as long as Washington's offense does well, they'll pull it out.
All right, well, so let's move on to Dude of the Week. This week I could not decide. There was just too much going on. So I have some nominees, and we're each going to pick one after it's all said and done. So our first nominee is Tyreek Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs, who had 7 receptions for 169 yards and 2 TDs, and he also had a 95-yard punt return. Then next up we have Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers, who after having only 3 for 7 and 11 yards in the first half, finished the game with 20 of 30 passing, 287 yards and 3 touchdowns, all 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Last up, we have James Conner from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had 31 rushes for 135 yards and 2 TDs, as well as 5 catches for 57 yards. Easton?
I chose Aaron Rodgers, and the reason why is he came back from literally getting injured. It looked like he wasn't going to come back to that game. I know people are saying it was a Paul Pierce.
Where's the wheelchair?
Where's the wheelchair? I know people are saying that, but I mean, he did not look good. He when he threw the ball, it looked like he had never thrown a football before in his life.
Yeah, it was some of the weirdest foot mechanics I have ever seen. Like, the foot that he threw off of on the front ended up being the one he landed on. He didn't have a plant foot. It was some of the most bizarre throwing motions I've ever seen.
It wasn't pretty, but it worked.
I mean, it was also different every time because it was so improvised. It was so amazing to watch, and
it
I
was
think
a super fun game to watch. It was
Yeah.
one of
Oh, yeah. I
It
thought
was
the
a
Bears had it.
memorable football game that I'll
Yeah,
probably remember
definitely.
for a long time.
one of those all-time best games, and
Yep.
it was awesome. That was
And it was a rivalry.
prime time Sunday night, oldest rivalry in
Yep.
football, of course, Green Bay in their 100th season. So yeah, you spoke for all of us basically. We all picked Aaron Rodgers because on a normal week, I would with that stat line from Aaron Rodgers, which is a pretty average stat line for him, maybe even below average, not with the touchdowns, but with the completion percentage and the yardage, I would have picked Tyreek Hill.
I was
But
gonna
With the injury, it's very clearly Aaron Rodgers.
I was going to pick James Conner because he had really good stats, but that fumble really cost him that win that they could have had.
Yeah, no, we didn't really talk about that, but isn't that the most Cleveland Browns thing to do? They've
Yeah,
lost.
completely.
They've lost.
Did you watch the game?
Yeah, they
Dude, that was
lost.
so annoying.
They lost every single opening game since 2003, and they broke that streak with a
tie.
tie.
That's kind of sad.
I hate the Browns because they're my team's rivalry, but
It's not much
I've
of a
never
rivalry.
cheered for the Browns more in my life than on Sunday and they couldn't make nobody can make a field goal. Like
Yeah.
my God.
It was egregious to watch.
Hopefully they can
Watching
pull the next
ties
one.
in football is the worst thing ever,
Yeah.
even with the overtime. So yeah, so our dude of the week is Aaron Rodgers. So thanks for joining us for that college football there, Colton. So we'll see you next week.
It was fun.
All right, so Easton, we just have one topic left to go here in the NBA. We have Russell Westbrook. He had a knee surgery. I know he's your guy. Are you worried at all with
Not
that,
at all.
with that arthroscopic knee surgery?
Not at all. Westbrook has been one of the most healthy players in the NBA, as he only had one real serious injury, which was his knee, which Patrick Beverley blew out in, what was it, the second round of the Western Conference Finals in 2013?
13. The year after they went to the title game.
Yeah, it doesn't concern me because I know Westbrook's a physical point guard. He uses his body for almost everything, but he's injured that. I think it was just a little bit of a cleanup on his knee to make sure everything's just perfect, and I don't think it'll affect him at all.
Yeah, the article very clearly stated that it wasn't any type of like true medical procedure. It was just, as you said, a cleanup. And like this is the same thing Kyrie Irving did, but they found stuff. So Kyrie Irving's was a lot more serious. So I think people are just associating the name and the connotation of what happened to Kyrie. But I think this injury for Russell will be different, even though he's going to miss maybe the first week or two of play.
It's gonna suck because I want to see that first game.
Oh,
the
that
Warriors
first
Thunder.
game. Yeah, that was on your list.
That was my top
from
game
the
of the
first
year.
podcast. That was in your
That was my
your
top
top
game of
5
the year.
games. Yeah, that game will be a lot less exciting without him, but he'll still be there on the bench to watch him get their rings.
He'll dance.
I know what we're both thinking of, but we can't talk about that here. So with him missing those first few weeks of the season, do you think that's going to impact obviously their record, but them as a unit because he's so controlling of that offense?
I thought it'd be interesting to see because we've never seen the Thunder that hasn't had a Westbrook on the team. I mean, it's always been Durant and Westbrook, but Westbrook's never been hurt, and it's not just been everybody else. So with Paul George leading the team, it'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah.
I don't think it'll affect their season as a whole because it's only me. He could come back the first week. That's still a possibility.
Yeah, but I don't think it would be smart. I think
Yeah.
they should let him sit as long as possible because it's better for him to sit 2 weeks in October
he's not gonna want to sit
than a month, the whole month of February. But I know he won't want to sit, but if it's for the health and for the well-being of the team, I think that's far more important. And if this isn't too serious, then he'll come back, he'll be fine, and this team, they're not going to win the West. We all know that, but they can be a huge factor. I know they went out in the first round. You weren't very happy about that, to Utah. But this team could be a threat, I think everyone but the Warriors should be on high alert of this Thunder team. If they're firing on all cylinders going into the playoff with a healthy Russ and a healthy PG, this team could be a big problem for a lot of people.
I'm trying not to get as excited as I was last year with Carmelo because I don't want it to backfire like it did last year. We're getting hyped about Dennis Schroeder and Nerlens Noel. We really shouldn't be getting excited about him because other than his first 2 seasons in Philadelphia, he hasn't really done anything. But it was our first serviceable center since, I don't even know, Nick Collison.
I don't know.
No, Ennis Kanter. Sorry.
I guess. Yeah. So I don't think that Russell Westbrook injury, even if he misses time, I don't think it'll impact them greatly. And it's better to do it now than in the middle of the season when you're in your groove around the All-Star break time. That's just not the time to be missing games when they're spot deciding because
he only missed
the West,
3 or 4 games.
Yeah, because the West literally from like 2 or 3 to like 10 is going to be about 15 games. It's going to be very, very close. So, I think this injury is going to be an issue, but if it's resolved now, I don't think it'll be an enormous problem.
No.
So, I think that's pretty much it. Easton, any last words?
Let's go Thunder.
All right, that's pretty enthusiastic. So that's it for Dudes Being Guys episode 5. See you guys next week.
See ya.